Hey, Dr. T here. This is a low effort video. I just checked up the green screen so you don't see my messy living room. Anyways, I am preparing for a class that starts Monday, so this is currently June 4th that I'm recording this. It'll release a little bit later. And so, hey, I thought I'd let you into a few of the tips that I do for setting up my D2L assignments. My learning management system is D2L. So obviously your settings will be different because your school will customize your learning management system differently, even if it is D2L, and obviously if it's Blackboard or Canvas or whatever, it's totally different software. But I'm setting up an assignment and I figured I'd walk you through some of the settings that I typically use. Okay, so you know what? It's gonna need a name. And I think I've done 5 of these so far. This one's 6. I don't know of a way to just say like, okay, I want module blank, and then assignment, and then give me 11 for one for each module. I wish there was a feature like that. There might be. I may just have never found it. Okay, so I'm going to say this is going to be worth 5 points. I'm going to link it to something in my grade book. And it looks like I was wrong. It's actually number 5 that I want. Okay, so I'm going to rename this 5. I like to keep them to match the assignment with the gradebook entry fairly close. Okay, I am going to give this a due date. Now, for this particular one, once again, today is June 4th. I'm going to set this one up for the 24th. That's just when I think the students kind of should be getting this done. It defaults to 11:59 p.m. That's perfect. I really encourage you to use 11:59 p.m. for your due dates. I am not going to put instructions paragraph. This one I will, depends on what's going on. I'm probably going to go back through, rewrite some instructions, and this is like, really I should have done this sooner, but you know, you rough things in. But instructions can be quite helpful. This is one where I'm probably just going to say, here's the guide to doing this, and then go ahead and, you know, you've got 11 of these things. Here's the guide. Just, you know, they're all the same instead of putting that in the instructions. If there's 1 or 2 of them, it's really helpful to put the instructions there. Students will typically read that. Okay, let's see. Availability dates. I usually don't get fancy on this one. Sometimes you've got students who, for whatever reason, are going to need some special access, etc. That said, the way everything is currently set up, if they miss and upload it late, as long as they don't put an end date. So start date, they can't upload anything before it. End date, they can't upload anything after it. Due date is just simply a number. And then it marks it late if they go past the due date. So I usually don't do start or end date. There's a couple of times where I will, where I want to make sure I lock it. But usually I just tell students, like, here's the due date. There's a little bit of grace period after that, where I'm not going to take off points, or I'm not just going to not grade it. But, you know, end date is an option for you. Okay, now submission completion. This is where things get fairly useful. 1, you can make categories. Makes your life nice. Put in some categories. Just categorize everything. File submission. This one, there is a couple of ways you can do this. If you're doing like in-person presentations and you just want D2L to organize the rubrics, etc. for you, you can do an in-person observation. That works well. But I'm just going to stick with file submission. Is it 1 upload and done or unlimited? I always go unlimited. This way, if they make a mistake, oh well, they just uploaded another one. No big deal. Allowable file extensions. So what do you want to get? I recommend you put something here. Now, for like presentations, so for this class I've got one where it's got presentations where they're uploading, and those are probably going to be MP4s or maybe .movs or possibly a Word document with a link to a YouTube page. Obviously, I'm not going to put restrictions on that one. I'll just sort that out. But I do like this annotatable file. Basically, this is the file types that D2L can go, I can read this, I can turn this into a PDF, and I can show you. I don't have to worry about them uploading a .pages file when I'm a PC user and have no way to open the dumb thing. So I strongly recommend this one. It is really helpful. But obviously it depends on what you're doing. If you want Excel spreadsheets, you can limit it to just Excel spreadsheets. You can limit it to just a .xlsx or whatever you would like. Okay, submissions. I always keep it to all submissions are kept. Basically, if they upload something fishy, I want records. Okay, so rubrics. I am still working on building the rubric to this assignment. Ideally, I would have already done this, and I would be putting the rubric in here, but I didn't. So if you got a rubric, chuck that in. Rubrics can be quite helpful. Depends on your assignment, etc. Okay, this is a new one. It may have been here the whole time, and I have just never seen it. Or maybe it's new upgrade to the version we have. I don't know. But hide students' names during assessment. This is going to, I'm thinking, I've not used this. Literally, I discovered this a few minutes ago. This is why I decided to make the video. I do this with quizzes, though. D2L has this feature in quizzes. I've been using it for a year or two. What it's going to do is it's simply going to call it student 1, student 2, student 3. It's going to shuffle the students. One problem I always run into with assignments is when I'm grading, I start on the top of the pile and go through. Well, the pile's alphabetically ordered. I'm hoping this will scramble the order so I'm not going through the students in the same order for every assignment, which is just annoying. My last name starts with a T, hence the Dr. T. And so I'm used to being at the bottom of the list. So this way the list shuffles. I'm hoping that's what this does. Also, this really removes kind of the appearance of impropriety. Obviously, you're going to grade every student the same. You're going to hold the same standards every student. But if you can say, hey, I don't even know which one I'm grading. When I'm grading it, these are hidden. That really shows like, hey, not only am I doing my best to hold everyone to the same account, I literally don't know which one I'm grading right now. And that's, a way of holding yourself to a little bit higher account, a little way of showing the students that you are holding yourself to a high account. Okay, now I am going to turn it in on. Turn it in is a plagiarism detection software. People cheat, let's just be honest, and this gives you some information. It's not going to be the definitive. You're going to have to look through it, look through its report. Does the similarity reading seem a little bit on the high side? If it's 20%, honestly, I'm not even going to bat an eyelash. But if it's like 50, 80%, I'm going to look, why is it 50 or 80%? It could just be catching a bunch of bibliographies, even though you told it not to, but still. They've got a bunch of features here that I don't normally use, but I do want to go through and look at the more options. I have found that occasionally some of these things get checked off and disabled where it's like completely useless. So this is kind of, once again, kind of the core grading. Here's where I really want to check. Is it going to compare against the student paper repository, websites, and other sources? Basically, is it actually going to work? For a while, these were all turned off by default. So it's like I turned it in, but it didn't do anything. And I'm going to say, okay, exclude the bibliographic materials. Obviously, these would flag as being copied because they're supposed to be exactly the same. That said, don't trust that this is actually going to be successful. It depends on how the students format their bibliography and if it recognizes their formatting, which I find about half the time it doesn't. Mostly it's the student's fault, don't get me wrong. Exclude quoted materials. I'm in the sciences, we don't really use quotes, and then exclude small sources. Basically, you're trying to cover up the clutter. So trying to generally keep things to a minimum. And then everything else I'm not really going to deal with. So I haven't changed anything. I'm just going to close this off. Main thing is you want these three checked, and frankly, you want these three checked as well. Now, once again, you still got to go check them because just because it's not supposed to cover the bibliography doesn't mean it won't. Or maybe you've got a weird long quote, the student messed up the quotes, or maybe they quoted it in a way that's perfectly correct, maybe even better, but it didn't recognize it. So once again, it's not perfect. You have to check those similarity reports. But I've checked those similarity reports. I've got the due date in there. The students are going to check the learning management calendar. So make sure you use it. It is definitely one of a couple of places where you want to start expressing when things are due, especially if you're going to have more rigid due dates. I like to say, try and give them 2 or 3 different opportunities to catch something. That way, if they missed one on the formal calendar that you've provided, if you are providing one of those, this is an online class. I'm not going to. It's pretty much at their pace. These due dates are more or less a suggestion, except for the final one, which is like, the class is over, guys. But this way they can see it on the formal calendar, they can see it on the learning management's calendar, you probably announce it in class, etc. And then if they're like, but how was I supposed to know? There's this great trick in English where, you say this, this, and this is a nice triplet. Well, it's going to sound good. Well, it was on the schedule, it's on the learning management system, and I told you in class. So at the very least, even if they don't catch it and they come to blame you, you've got a great defense. It's like, it's not my fault. I tried. Okay, last off, I'm going to make this go visible right away. If you're still working on it, maybe you want to keep it hidden. This is basically the way it's going to go. I still need to work on a rubric. This is the first time I'm doing this particular style of assessment. It's basically like a mini lab report, although it's not really a lab. And so I don't quite have the rubric down yet. It's probably going to evolve over the first several. But with that said, I'm setting this guy up, and at which point I'll hit save and close and keep on with the other half a dozen of these things. So I'll see you in later videos. Have a wonderful day.